Uh-oh, I've gone rogue. Hey guys, it's just me. Don't have my co-host today. We're getting into all things DC. Actually, all things CW, I should say. Since everything just has been kicking off this month, we've got The Flash, we've got Supernatural returning for its last season, Arrow with its last season, although I don't think that start. Oh yeah, it has. The first episode is out. Then we have Batwoman. Supergirl's back up. I don't too care much about Supergirl. It's a great show. I never could keep up with it. I might watch a little bit of it just because we're getting the Infinite Crisis series this season or this time. I don't know if Legends is coming back, but I'm sure they're going to be in Infinite Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths. One of those will work. So super pumped. I just got done watching the second episode of The Flash. That's where I'm going to start. I think this season is going to be really good. I'm super excited for what they're doing. It was unfortunate that their daughter didn't have like an impact, I think, as much as they wanted her to. But she's serving as a good catalyst for this season and moving on, and just more of Barry's lessons of resilience, which we get a lot in episode 2. So super pumped about that. It is a good show. It's got a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns, and the jokes are just they're great. I think for what we wanted out of these types of DC shows, I mean they're better than the movies. That's for sure. I'm not knocking the movies or anything, but they've created a universe, which is what the movies haven't been able to do. So super excited to see where this goes and what the future holds. I mean, what kind of an ending it almost. This episode, you almost got like an Infinity War-esque. I know Marvel has nothing to do with DC, but I'm going to be jumping around a whole lot. Spoilers as well. I don't know when this is going to go up, but spoilers. I'm talking Flash episode 1, episode 2, Batwoman episode 1, episode 2, and the first episode of Supernatural. I will come back to do Arrow. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons. I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to jump into it and just get the final end. I know that might be a problem for the diehards, but I'm just kind of going with what is entertaining, and I think they'll turn it around for the last season and go out strong. I know the last few seasons they've been kind of up and down and here and there and this and that, which is kind of why I haven't watched for a while. So anyways, getting not even ahead of myself. So The Flash. It starts off episode 1. You got Barry and Iris. They're, of course, reeling from their daughter being vanished. I was going to say Zoom, not Zoom. Yes, Zoom. No, not Zoom. The Reverse Flash. The Reverse Flash changed the timeline, as we all saw at the ending of Season 5, and erased the timeline with their daughter. So now she is gone, and they're kind of both just diving into their work, and one's trying to hold on, Iris, and Barry is trying to just run, as he usually do. Run, Barry, run! And so he's zooming around town, and we get to see Godspeed again, which was interesting, because we saw him in, I believe it was on Another Earth, and the way that they're depicting him in the show is just a guy who's on Velocity 9. But in this one, they're not time remnants, but they're versions of Godspeed that keep popping up from the future, that they can't speak. There's not a whole lot of motor skills with motor skills with them. They're not really. They have nothing to really say. They're just kind of empty slates. They know who Godspeed is. They have a little bit of history of him, but they are just catching these weird semi-versions of him that are just popping up from the future. They don't go much into that other than that. And then we kind of get to see this guy awesome little short, a video clip. I know it's jumping around, but we get introduced to this guy who basically has created a black hole. And he has this little like YouTube video, and he's talking about how he wants to get the number from the coffee girl down at the at Jitters, and a little exchange there, a little comic relief before he builds and gets basically his body and his mind gets cut in half, and his mind is now a black hole, and he is just left an empty slate. So these black holes keep popping up all around, and you find Iris trying to do like this. She's trying to find her old jacket from when she was a speedster, just kind of a remembrance if she will have her daughter or see her daughter one day, even if it's not the version that they saw. Maybe they'll be able to still have a piece of her through this jacket. So she goes and finds this jacket in a dumpster. Joe had thrown it away because of the garage sale. I'm sorry for all the jumping around, but it's getting there. So then what happens is she gets the jacket, but then a black hole appears and her jacket flies off. And I thought that had something to do with like the timeline resetting, and it just like, because I didn't know that the black hole was created by the guy. We don't find that out until a little bit later. So I thought that everything was being whooshed back because we saw that even her message, the daughter's message, gets like fried and doesn't work anymore at the beginning of the episode. So we're thinking that everything's being reset and everything from their daughters being erased. Then we also get introduced to another character, an old friend of Caitlin Snow's, who is reeling from his mother's passing due to this really rare disease that he also has that gives him about 3 to 6 months to live. And he's found a cure, but it has to do with dark matter. And Caitlin's hesitant on giving it to him because they just created a cure. This might be something that can give people metahuman powers. So super interesting as well. And we see him him start his evil path, as it were. I think it's the same character that we saw on Heroes, a way old television show from back in the day. He was a scientist actually trying to research these people with power. So it's ironic that he's back in a similar capacity or in a world where there's metahumans or people with abilities. Really interesting to see that actor back on the screen in this capacity. Really excited that he does a great performance. They try and add someone on each season. And I think if this is like maybe he won't be, of course he won't be the big villain, but maybe he'll play some key role in Infinity War. Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm getting to the Infinity War parallel when I get to episode 2. So Flash is running around. They're reeling from their daughter. They finally connect Iris and Barry, and they're able to talk it out and really let each other know that things aren't what they thought they were after their daughter's passing, and how they're trying to just work on it, but they were working on it by themselves and not together. So kind of a little bit of a coming back together moment, which was of course very sweet. And big thing is Cisco doesn't have his powers, or big thing to me is he took the cure, which is interesting because I didn't think we'd lose that. I really liked his abilities, and I thought it made his character well-rounded, but I can see the duality that he had, and him wanting to change space for a while. Still hilarious as ever. Him and stretchy guy, the dude that stretches. He does more than that. His powers are actually really cool. His elasticity, Elastic Man, is his superhero name, so we're just gonna stick with that because his name escapes me at the moment. They banter back and forth, and it's like hilarious between the two of them. We also find out that Caitlin, or Killer Frost, kind of wants her own life. She's lived this life through the eyes of Caitlin, and now she is realizing that she has no memories of her own, no actions, no life to call her own, and she doesn't know how to ask or take control and do that. She's just willing to go at this point because she's not going to ask Caitlin to switch out and let her take the wheel. Of course she does, because it's Caitlin Snow, and who wouldn't do that? So we're going to see Killer Frost more instead of Caitlyn, which will be an interesting twist. We'll kind of get to see how she adapts to the team, and it'll create a new dynamic. So hopefully, I don't think they're going to add anyone to the team. I think they'll get another Harrison Wells. That was teased a little bit in some of the trailers. So really exciting stuff with that. And so the first episode kind of ends with the guy that Caitlyn knew. I don't know why I did this, because he does know her. But he somehow gets a hold of dark matter and injects himself, and he starts to mutate into some monster, or at least his hand goes all fly. I don't know what it was. Mud, something. He's now some metahuman monster, or turning into one. We're not really sure. The second episode picks up with the Monitor comes in. My bad. The Monitor, the big scary terror is coming. Ooh, scary. Ooh. Actually, speaking of scary, I'm going to Horror Nights this weekend. I've only been one other time, and I'm terrified. There will be a story from the last time I went. It was pretty hilarious. I'm a huge wuss. I'm terrified. I don't know why I'm doing it again. I got convinced or talked into it, or whatever the case may be. But I'm scared. Okay. Anyways. So, back to the Monitor. Ooh, scary. Oh. Okay. The Monitor. So he comes in, and he's talking to Barry and Iris, saying, basically, Barry, this is it. You gotta die. It's either you or everybody else. The usual superhero request. You either goodbye, or all these people goodbye. So choose a goodbye, and then goodbye. So he's going to be faced with a choice. And of course, we all know Barry. He likes to run towards things. He's not one to shy away from trouble. But this one sets him off edge. You can start to see that he doesn't know how to handle this. He's always lived his life by that article once he became the Flash. So interesting to see where that kind of goes, and if he'll do the sacrifice. I mean, we've seen time be changed time and time again, or the future changed throughout the show, but this one seems pretty imminent. And something that he might not be able to get away from. Neither him or Oliver Queen, the Arrow. I don't know why that struggled me so long. Or I struggled with that for so long. But Twing, funk guy. He's got the bow and the thing and swoop. I guess he does a sword every now and again, but it's mostly swoop. So he, apparently they both are going to go, but I guess it's more sort of that Barry goes to save everybody. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. Super excited about it. And so we kick off with episode 2. I don't know what I missed in episode 1, but that's all I remember from episode 1/2. I've gone so back and forth so many times. But in this one, we get to see Jay Garrick again. Not Zoom, but we get to see, Black Flash, of which hopefully he gets to play a role in this season or this Infinite Crisis. We'll see him in some capacity and kind of get a little bit more on Black Flash. That's a lot to ask for in the season, but I don't know if this is the last season of The Flash. I don't think it's been announced, but this seems to be a huge pinnacle moment. So I think we're going to see a lot of things kind of unfold and a lot of insight into things. Don't know what those things are, but they're things. So we go with the things. In the second episode, we get to see Jay Garrick. Basically, Barry has decided he's going to run into the future and see all... he wants to see what happens. He wants to see what happens on the day after the Infinite Crisis, and if there's any way to save it, or just what they can prepare for. And for once, everyone seems to be. We find out later that even Jay Garrick winds up being on board with him trying to run into the future. But there's a giant wall or sphere or protector or zappy thing that stops him from running into the future. Something in the Speed Force has cut off. him from traveling a certain distance in time. Also, really cool thing, he gets Gideon in his ear. He made a little earpiece of like garbage, is what he said. I'm not sure, or like parts he found around. Maybe the time vault or something, but now he's able to have Gideon in his ear, and Gideon can pinpoint in time where he is, and allow him to utilize his speed a little bit more efficiently, because Gideon can do a lot of the calculations. Basically, it's having, a computer in your ear, and we've all seen, what Gideon can do even on the time ship in Legends of Tomorrow. So that's awesome. I think that's going to provide a lot more. And we can even see like Gideon telling him what time he's running in, so he knows exactly when to get out of running through the Speed Force. It's more pinpoint. We even see like the Gideon giving him calculations when he fights this person who can control all sorts of radio waves, microwaves, ultraviolet rays, which is like 180 times faster than what Barry can even run. That's a really cool scene towards the end. But what we get to see is he gets stopped, he gets cut, he gets touched by whatever this matter is, and he gets this big gash on his leg. It's like a lightning gash, or lightning's coming out of it. I'm not really sure. All I know is he's in pain and it's not healing like he usually does with his super speed. Or his accelerated healing due to his super speed. His super speed doesn't run in a circle and then that's how it heals. That would be lame. My arm, let me just run a quick lap and it'll be good. But no, so he heals. And he heals that, or it takes him a while to heal, and they realize, and Gideon tells him, oh, Jay Garrick from Earth 3, he knows all about this antimatter, which is what we find out that he hit. So he gets to go to Earth 3 and he sees Jay Garrick. And they get to talking about antimatter, and he says, oh, he's found this way to project your mind, because your body might not be able to go through antimatter. You're lucky you survived. You could have evaporated and blown to smithereens, or disintegrated into 1,000 particles, or whatever floats your fancy. Or doesn't. It's all good. And so we see him kind of come in and say, oh, we can project your mind. Only you can do it as Speedster in his prime. Apparently he's losing his speed. I don't know if that was like from a run-in with... Who would he have fought? Because I know... Oh, maybe fighting Cicada? Because I think he fought Cicada, but I'm not sure. We know that Savitar beat him up pretty good back in Season 3. It could be his old age as well. Or the time he was spent locked up with Zoom. Zoom was taking his powers. So maybe that just all of those years have finally caught up to him and he's losing his speed. But we get to find out kind of who he's with now. And he's kind of settled down. He's taken more back on his role as a scientist, trying to figure out why he's losing his speed, and also tracking all this antimatter that's been spread throughout the Speed Force. So he's trying to do that, and his fiance, girlfriend comes in, and lo and behold, of course, it is the doppelganger of Barry's mom, which kind of shocks Barry and sends him kind of on an emotional train, getting to revisit and have someone that resembles his mom back in his life. So I hope we get to see them again. They played a key role throughout the episode. We saw them a lot. They helped Barry kind of project into the future where he has, all right, and I'm getting to it, long-awaited Infinity War reference. In Infinity War, Doctor Strange uses the time stone to see alternate futures for the upcoming battle with Thanos. He sees 1.38 thousand, 200, 1,000 million, something like that, and to see ultimate timelines, and only one of them is where everybody lived. And same thing here. Barry goes to the Infinite Crisis and he sees all the ways that the crisis could end, and only one way works, where he has to sacrifice himself to save billions. And it's in that moment he kind of just goes, well, that's it. It's so, he sees everything. And just like Doctor Strange, when he comes out, he's just like, what we've only got one shot at this. Like, it's very like there is nothing else. If this doesn't work, nothing else works. And he knows that the only thing that's going to work is if he sacrifices himself, if he gives himself up and saves billions of lives. He sees Cisco, he sees Killer Frost, he sees Iris, he sees them all die over and over and over and over and over again. And we see that it's ruptured all of his neurons or neuropaths or neuroscience, neurosis. Not neurosis, that's I think a disease. I'm not really sure. But all of his synapses are fried, and he's in utter pain when he comes back because he's just in so much shock because he's reliving all of those experiences because of how quickly he analyzes or some speed thing connected to the whoop. So he's reeling from that, and he's actually struggling. His body's in pain, and that'll go away, but the trauma, Jake Eric says, is going to last for a while, which is interesting because they're really diving in a little bit. I think they're really trying to switch up the format and not make it more serious, but make it a more well-rounded show between the comedy and the stress and the emotion and the back and forth and all this up and down and whoop-de-woo. I think they're trying to create a more well-rounded because they're seeming to, like, you can see the comedy flowing out and the humor, but also the seriousness, and they're putting a little bit more weight on that, and you can really see the actors kind of coming into their own a little bit more within the season or within the beginning of the season. You can really see a change from all of them taking kind of a different route. So that's even more exciting. But basically, he's reeling from all of this, and super interesting. Sorry, I was just checking if I was even still recording. I know that's kind of lame, but this whole time I was like, maybe. So where was I? And we get to see Caitlyn's friend, who's not really his friend, the guy that had that crippling disease. We see him he attacks somebody with his stretchy hand thing. It created a suction cup, and I don't know, started feeding on him or changing that guy, but basically that guy dies. And we see him later on being dissected by the doctor to see what happened. He's trying to figure out what this cure that he's created has done. And then all of a sudden we see the corpse kind of get up and then attack him, which was interesting. I thought it was going to be like, oh, you are not like my master, but like there was a sense of he now just did whatever he said. But I guess there's more to it, or we'll see. It was something with like the blood clotting. So interesting to kind of see where that goes, and what more of that is. They're giving a lot of information and a lot of teasers, so a lot of stuff, and allowing the show to kind of grow outside of just the Infinite Crisis, but that being the main foothold in this season. I'm curious to see what Arrow is doing with its first episode. There will be more on that as soon as I, of course, watch it. So one thing is, I saw Cisco with his Vibe glasses on in the Infinite Crisis. Now that can mean that we're just getting another Vibe from another Earth that's in there helping. Not necessarily that Vibe has his powers. Maybe Caitlyn only gave him not enough of the cure, or we find out that the cure needs multiple doses, or he's able to or he's just using his electronics as the powers of Vibe. Because we saw those glasses and that gear could still do things, I think, outside of him using his abilities. So maybe we'll just see a technical version of Vibe and not the meta-human Vibe. But anyways, I'm excited to see Vibe back on the screen. I loved his powers. He was really good at them towards the end, right before he gave him up. He was creating little pockets and throwing coffee cups in them, and really, even in the fight against Reverse Flash at the end of season 5, he kicked butt. He destroyed Reverse Flash, and then even helped create a tunnel so that they can come in with the Flash punch, bam. So, anyways, I hope we get to see Vibe in some compassion, not compassion. Although he is getting it, he does have a girlfriend now. The person that works for the Citizen with Iris and takes pictures all over town, and they went to a little art gallery, and it's funny because Frost is there. It's her first experience outside. Of course, they found a way to make her glowy eyes human and or not glow. And her meta-human voice, or how we saw the change when Caitlin became Killer Frost. She had like a different kind of voice. Just kind of pairs her back. We get Caitlin's voice again, along with her eyes, and not the shiny eyes, so that she can be around in public. And she goes to this art show, and it's really hilarious because she hates everything. She's like, oh my, that's somebody's heart. Like, what and the guy's like sitting right there, and he's like, dude, that. And then he's like, oh, what is this garbage? Somebody should go back to the drawing board, basically, and it winds up being Cisco's girlfriend's art. And she's like, hey, that's mine. Like, what the? I brought you here. Like, maybe she doesn't get to come to these things anymore. Which is funny because it winds up being up that she's trying to be an artist. And we see Killer Frost trying to draw something, and she's not able to express herself. And so it turned out to be more jealousy. But even Cisco, he has good comedy, but he has a good point about, guilt. And it being a catalyst for you being able to do something good, or even what art has, and just that key reminder that just because you're doing art doesn't mean there isn't other people out there doing the same thing you are, and you have to allow that art as well as put yourself out there. I mean, it's the same with this. It's not like I'm not against any other person trying to express themselves or do a podcast or create YouTube videos or create content or do any of that. It's I find it all fascinating. It's so interesting that you can just keep put yourself out there, and it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. Let that add to what you're doing. So it was a nice little point there of just the idea of us just letting everybody express themselves, and just focus on what you're doing. Don't let what other people's influences create in you. Art is something that you express. So it was really interesting. It combined a lot of elements. Very poignant to today. I know it was like a quick sentence and I'm kind of blowing up. I just found it really interesting on a little bit more serious note. So really good stuff. And so I really like, there's a lot of good elements. The show's back on track. It's, you're hooked. You got all these elements like Godspeed and him jumping back in time. You've got that scientist that's now turned himself into some sort of metahuman that's creating zombies, maybe? I mean, we're seeing a bunch of zombies in Supernatural, which, oh my goodness, maybe I'll have to make this like a 3-part series, and I'll do Batwoman and Supernatural later on, because the Flash episode 1 and 2, I didn't know I had so much to say. But anyways, so I mean, we're seeing all. So Barry basically going back to episode 2. He's seen the future. He knows he's now committed. The only thing I have left is to die. That's how I'm gonna save everybody. I saw billions of different other ways, and he's like convinced. He even tells Iris, like, he's just sitting there, just like, this is it. I've got to do this. I mean, it's very like he is determined. He knows this is the only way. And Iris is basically like, you're giving up? That's not you. You always run. Every time I know you just run. And we've been up this kind of stuff before. And he's like, you don't understand. Like, yeah, we've been up to stuff before and changing the future, but I saw billions of futures. And she's like, well, what about the billionth and second and the billionth and third? And he's like, you don't get it. Like, I've seen all of them. I've seen every possible future. There's only one where it works, and that's I die. And if it comes down to like me or you, this kind of combining all the conversations they had of his journey throughout the episode. because he gets to talk with Joe, and of course Joe's always the kind of the rock of the show. He's like he's the one guy everyone goes to for advice, or he's the guy that gives the advice even to those who don't really want it. And Joe basically tells this a story of him as a beat cop, and his resilience, and him basically saying, even if you know the day is coming, you've got to stand up for it. And if that's the choice, if that's the only choice, you have to give your life freely. You have to give it freely, okay? There's freely, and then there's freeway, or freewee, all right? And freewee is a little bit different, because you got no choice. And freewee, you just got to, well, you freewee. Anyways, so stupid. So he basically says, it's your choice. And if that's your only option, it's not cowardly. It's not bad to think that way. It's why you're a symbol, like my police badge, your flash symbol. It's a symbol to others of hope, and it's sometimes a little bit more than what the actual person can stand up for. I mean, the flash has become this overall symbol, and sometimes that becomes bigger than the person, and the person tries living up to something that he may not be able to, and that's okay, is what Joe's kind of saying here. Freely. Sorry, I saw an opportunity to say it one last time. Which kind of helps Barry in the end, and he defeats the kind of pseudo metahuman. And actually, another kind of subplot, we get this like mysterious organization that might be using metahumans and training them into like assassins, which is kind of an interesting idea. So again, a lot of stuff is kind of happening, which is interesting, and it kind of keeps you bouncing around. So so much to talk about, so much to go through, which is just so fascinating. So I mean, and then let's see, maybe I got nothing left. Because I don't even know how the episode ended. Hold on, I'll get there. So then basically he figures out he's got nothing left, but through the episode he kind of gets resilience, and he's like, look, if that day comes and I have to make that choice, I'm going to make that choice. But until that day, I'm going to keep running, because I'm the Flash, and that's what we do, all right? That's what he do, all right? He's like, come on. At the end of the day, I'm going to keep running. And I'm going to keep running until a day where I have to make a choice not to run. And if that choice brings me to saving billions or myself, I'm choosing billions. I'll do it. But I'm not going to sit here and sit on the sidelines and wait for that day. I'm going to keep trying to change it until that day comes, because that day ain't here yet. I don't know why I'm getting all uppity, but basically he gives this big old speech like, this is my time. I'm going to keep... That's me running. All right. So, super excited. I can't wait for episode 3 next week. I don't even know if I'll get there, because I've got Horror Nights this coming Sunday, and I'm freaking out. I'm so terrified. I'm terrified. That's where I'm going to kind of hang it up today. I'm going to come back and do another one for Batwoman episode 1 and 2 and Supernatural. This was a lot of fun, just kind of solo this time. Let me know how you feel just doing these little mini episodes. And I'll probably bring Chris back into it as well. I just kind of wanted to try it out on my own, see what's what. So there's episode 1 and 2 are just my thoughts, my kind of overall how I assimilated the 2 episodes. Super excited about it. Hilarious. So glad they're back. Can't wait for more. I think this is going to be a really big season. I think DC, these episodes are really turning around. I know we've all been kind of stumbling, or at least some of us have, the last few seasons of some of the shows. But I think I'm pumped. I saw Batwoman. I'll go into it again, like I said, but it's got potential. Ruby Rose, it's got potential. They got a great cast, I think. The direction is good. It's interesting. It's slowly pulling you in. It's giving you a lot up front, but keeping a lot that you didn't think you... The things you know, or the things you think you know, they go, here they are. Yeah, you're right. And then there's other stuff where it's like, do you really know what's going on? So I think they're really taking a new direction with it. I'm really excited to see where they go with it. Batwoman looks really good. I think it's got a lot of potential. I highly think you should check it out. I know there's a lot of DC shows. I know some of them kind of dipped and dopped and whooped. I've been using that a lot throughout this episode. But go ahead, check them out. Tell me what you think. I'll be sure to do a review of them. Supernatural. I haven't seen it in a few seasons. I figured it's the last one. A lot of us, it's been 15 years. Feels like 100. And I feel like I've been with them for a lot of the journey or a lot of the time. I might go back and watch the past few seasons I haven't seen. I kind of get the gist of it. But basically, Chuck, the person who's playing God in Supernatural, has said, okay, game over, I'm out, done, and turned the world upside down and basically bounced. As we've seen in a couple of the other seasons, he's created a bunch of these universes, and every time the story or whatever he gets bored of it, he just leaves and goes and creates something else. And we kind of find out that the boys have been trapped in a rat maze throughout the last 15 years. Everything has just been one apocalypse, that it's just Chuck trying to write a story, and he's just throwing things left and right. So, but they're hoping that he's gone. They're hoping that he's pulled the plug and left town, and now it's just Sam and Dean, just like we like it, against 3,000 ghosts, or 3 billion ghosts, or something like that. Basically, all of hell's ghosts has risen up and is attacking everybody, and it's basically the Winchesters. Winchesters against the world. No more rat maze, no more collars, no more. It's back to, hopefully, I think, a glimpse of the first 6 seasons, which I think is where a lot of the core storytelling was done, and was a big setup. And I think they're trying to return to that. It's a lot to do. You got 15 seasons. They've got to expand and try different things, and maybe some things didn't work or this and that, but it stayed true for 15 years. And I think I stayed with it until season 13. So, I'm not knocking any of the seasons. I've thoroughly enjoyed the full series, and it'll be weird for it coming to an end. Also, from what I've heard, Sam is going to be playing Walker, Texas Ranger. So apparently that's going to be on the CBS streaming app, or streaming service. Guys, I don't know how many streaming services we're going to be able to keep up with. They're going to have to start joining forces, because I'm not what is there, 18? Everybody's got a service. But Walker, Texas Ranger, a show that we thought only Chuck Norris could do, is being returned with the actor, and I'm sorry, Jared Padalecki, I think. Sam Winchester is going to be doing. I'm going to check it out. I've loved Supernatural. Kind of fits his whole persona. So I'm curious to see what they do with it, and I'll check it out. Why not? We've been on this journey this long for Supernatural. Might as well see what else, what other range he's capable of doing, especially taking on something as something as that. That's a show that I thought was built for Chuck Norris, and the only reason that it was a show was because of Chuck Norris. But I'm excited for them to bring that world. I don't really think there's a Western show out there in that capacity right now, so it might be a good time for something like that. Love Western, so super excited. I know I said I was done, and I've continued to talk, but it is the rambling show. So I'm super excited for Supernatural. The first episode was really good. Again, I'll probably have to do its own little mini series on this. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to do another solo mini series. Shooting another episode tomorrow. We're going to be talking about John Wick. So super excited about that. Hopefully this doesn't come out before that, but not really sure. Thank you guys so much once again, and have a good one. All right, bye.